Ah, OCs. When that word, OC, comes to your mind, what do you think of? You may think of your own OC that you put a lot of hard work and time into. Or if you don't have one, you might think of the cool and edgy hedgehogs of Sonic, or the neon rainbow vomit of My Little Pony. Or you may think of even more niche fields like Cars, Turbo, or Family Guy. But it turns out that any fictional character created ever is someone's OC. Frodo is Tolkien's OC, Luke is George Lucas's OC, Goku is Akira Toriyama's OC, and so on. The reason being that OC stands for original character. So that makes it an extremely broad umbrella term. Anything as big as the new hit media franchise on Netflix, or something as little as a chalk drawing on someone's front driveway. Both of these could be classified as OC. I've participated in this field a few times myself. I'd say I've been doing it for the last 5 years, maybe. The last 2 being probably some of the craziest I've had in my life. Those last 2 years are where my channel came from, where the avatar in my profile picture came from, and how I learned to not be cringe. But to truly show the root of everything, we can't start 5 years ago. We have to go to the beginning. Nope, too early. Overshooting it a bit, but getting closer. Much better. The year was 2008. Sonic Unleashed released to typical disgust. The economy was about to crash, and the universe was subject to one of the most terrifying things in existence for the first time. Me. My early childhood was pretty typical. I had all your regular first moments, first walk, first potty, first loose tooth, all that stuff. Around the same time, Lauren Faust was developing MLPG4 for Hasbro after the utter failure that was G3. And I'm sure everyone knows the story. It released in October of 2010, took the world by storm, and bronies emerged from their creation pods in Yakub Laboratories to exist and be cringe. Personally, I wasn't really aware of it until 2012 or 2013. Obviously, being a stupid 5-year-old boy, I was gonna show prejudice towards these innocent creatures who did no wrong to me, and I was gonna be stupid for the next 7 years. Like, there was a rule on the playground. If you were a boy under the age of 11, you hated anything quote-unquote girly with a hatred comparable to that of any one resident of the Balkans towards any other resident of the Balkans. I know that analogy might seem a little extreme, but it definitely got my point across. At least I hope so. Like I said before, this burning hatred continued from 2013 until around 2020. I remember when there were TV commercials for the MLP movie in 2017, and every time I'd see one, I'd pretend I'd be having a stroke. Yeah, I was cringe. The hatred mentality peaked around here, until it began to decline in the late 2010s, until about early 2021, where it more turned into apathy. The last piece of pony hatred I still have with me is in a notebook, where there's SMG4 fan art of all of the different characters in Quarantine, and for some reason, in the top right corner, I have Rainbow Dash cosplaying as the Lucky Charms guy, with an arrow pointing at her with "Suffering Ponies" as a caption. I think I might have partially erased it, so I don't know how she's suffering? Anyway, over these 7 years, I went through a few phases. Angry Birds, Minecraft, and Pokemon were the big ones. Pokemon being where my first 2 OC attempts happened. Attempt number 1 was basically a self-insert version of the Pokemon anime with barely any differences except for the future, so basically anything past Journeys. Near the end of it, I had Ash getting assassinated by ISIS, which started World War III. Pyongyang, Cape Town, and some other third city were nuked. And the drawings I made were really bad. Like, not just like, very unprofessional bad, but I mean vile. Like, in the profile picture I had for Kiawe, I had him drinking with a lever over his crotch. And a few years later, when I was looking through it, I wrote down, guys, I think I did a racist. Anyway, so that came to its own end, and I began attempt 2, where I tried being a bit original, and it only worked slightly better. It was called Pokemon Peace and War. Basically, there's a lot to go over. It takes place in a region based off of Australia. There's 3 parts to the story. Your starter dies in the second part. And, nuclear apocalypse again. This whole thing honestly deserves a video of its own. So I'll probably have that be my next one of these 20 to 30 minute long explanation rambling videos. The idea was to go to Game Freak of America all the way out in Washington State. My parents aren't too hot about driving outside 1,000 miles of where I live, so that was off the table. But I still continued. The plan was to pitch it in 2023, and then have it go through a 6-year-long development cycle until 2029. Yeah, that plan was flawed, to say the least. And looking back, I would have been shot down the second I say nukes in the story, because there's no way Game Freak's gonna show a Pokemon trainer being evaporated. Anyway, I kinda scrapped it after a little while and got into some other things, like Paradox games and Shrek. That's really it. But on a seemingly normal day, everything would change. June 15th, 2022. Both of my parents were at work, school was out, and I was home alone. I was watching YouTube when I came upon a video called Gangster SpongeBob Rise and Fall by Robotnik. It's a relatively niche video, I'd say. After watching it, I was scrolling through the comments when I saw someone ask, what's the AI voice used in this? Because pretty much all the characters had accurate voices, but they were AI. You could tell because they had that metallic ringing in the back of them. Well, one of the responders said that it was Uberduck AI. So I looked it up, and I saw that you could type in whatever you wanted, and a character would say it. This made me laugh inside, because I thought about making SpongeBob, I don't know, talking about his ketamine addiction or something. But that fun fantasy automatically stopped when I learned I had to sign in. So I searched for alternatives when I came upon 15.ai. Its character pool wasn't nearly as big, but the characters were of higher quality, one of which was SpongeBob. Other characters in this pool included most of the mercs from Team Fortress 2, a bunch of characters from Portal, and most shockingly of all, more than 50 characters from My Little Pony. Like I've said before, I felt apathy more than anything at this point, so I was open to the idea of using the characters' voices. And it was pretty funny. It was hilarious to hear Applejack talking about herself going to Alcohol Anonymous. I continued to fiddle with it for a few more weeks, until I had the bright idea, hey, I wonder what these characters are actually like. And that opened floodgate number 1. The one that allowed small pastel horses to infect my brain and never go away. I watched lore explanations, fan videos, and basically anything that had accumulated in the 12 years since it started. At some point in August of that year, I found out about OCs, and I thought to myself, hey, maybe I should make one. And there opens floodgate number 2. The water of these 2 floodgates began to mix and mingle and merge into a thick stew of thought and creativity that bubbled and broiled and foamed until he was made. As mentioned before, I got into paradox games. Basically, what those games are is you take control of a country in a set time period and try to conquer the world as them. I've been playing these types of games, particularly Europa Universalis 4, for about the last 3 years. Since then, I've played many countries, like the Ottoman Empire, Brandenburg, France, Spain, America, Japan, and others. My most recent endeavor being that with the Roman Empire. With the Brandenburg to Prussia to Germany campaign in particular, I created a detailed alternate history, basically detailing what I thought the next 400 or so years of the campaign would look like, because it ended in 1616. I also created yet another alternate history called What If Humans and Ponies Lived Together? Not what if humans came to Equestria or ponies came to Earth. No. What if those 2 species had shared Earth since the beginning of history? I hypothesized that they would have originated somewhere in modern-day Western Kazakhstan, where they'd migrate south to Central Asia, and eventually be enslaved by the Hittites and Persians, and spread to the rest of the human world, and soon be liberated from their shackles once Christianity came about, and the Roman Empire collapsed, briefly creating their own countries in northwestern Europe, but soon being conquered by human ones. And yeah, that's pretty much got to where it is today. I came to the conclusion that 37% of Earth's population would be ponies. Some areas more concentrated than others, with areas like Saudi Arabia barely having any, and the Northern European plain having a ton. With calculating where they'd be most abundant, which was basically what areas of Earth had the most flat arable land, I then calculated what my DNA ancestry would be in this universe, and I came to the conclusion that in this timeline, I'd be a pony. So I decided to come up with one for myself, and by myself, I of course mean fake subscriber I made up in my head, because before I created this channel, I had a thing with talking to an imaginary camera to my millions of adoring followers, even though I looked like I had schizophrenia. Anyway, this quote-unquote subscriber came up with the name Burnt Blade. Yeah, not my best work. Eventually, I put my very own name through a pony name generator, and it came out with Sunbeam Thunder. And ever since then, that particular name has stuck like glue. And so, the journey of creating this OC began.
My Little Pony.
Sunbeam's first depiction was hideous. Sure, it was decent compared to the abominations of the Pokemon Peace and War days, but compared to what I can do now, it's completely atrocious. I do actually have a talent for drawing, but I didn't really get good at it until about a year and a half ago. A few months after I'd made Sunbeam, I also began a marathon of watching My Little Pony Friendship is Magic. I thought it'd only take me a few months, but due to setbacks, it took me until March of 2024. One of the reasons I'd taken so long is because I felt that just about everything after Season 5 felt like a monotonous chore to get through. Like, don't get me wrong, there are some good episodes sprinkled in there, but it's kind of like how with anime, for every good one, there's 9 awful ones. As for those awful ones, I don't remember them. Like, Seasons 6, most of 7, and most of 8, apart from the 2-parters, are like hazy static in my mind. And after hearing how bad G5 seemed to be, I made a bit of a vow to myself to make MLP good again. So I started doing a rewrite. And by rewrite, I of course mean MLP with extensions and a Sunbeam DLC. Like, he's there for the first 4 seasons, fades into the background for the next 9, which take the place of the original Friendship is Magic series, and comes back to be the main character again afterwards. The story itself was that Sunbeam, who was the nephew, like biological nephew of Princess Celestia, had a really, really smart friend named Leo Lionheart. Leo Lionheart was so smart that he took way too many college-level courses over in Maryland. Yes, Equestrian War is part of this. He took so many courses that he'd have to leave Canterlot to go over there, leaving Sunbeam really, really distraught. So he goes to high school and meets Twilight Sparkle. They become a bit of a dynamic duo throughout their high school years until they have to leave after they graduate to go oversee festival preparations in Ponyville, where the 9 seasons of MLPFIM begin to play out. Meanwhile, though, Sunbeam actually does have his own group of friends, including Soren and Flash Sentry. Yeah, I gave that guy, Brad, a personality. After Season 9, Sunbeam and Twilight get married and rule Equestria together. And it remains this way with a few bumps in the road until, in the big grand series finale, they defeat a monster and win. Total masterclass writing over here. Good job. But seriously, it was terrible. So I decided to do a bit of a revision in April of 2023 to make it far more original. The revamp was underway, and since my story had been blessed with originality, it finally started to get kinda good. I replaced Leo leaving with Sunbeam leaving to go be a pirate on the high seas. Equestria was replaced with Harmonia, which was basically the pony country about the size of Russia, but it took far more inspiration from countries like Spain, Italy, France, and the Byzantine Empire. The Changeling Hive was replaced with Omnily, a very friendly changeling country that spoke the language of Cthulhu. And for a bad country, I added a caliphate and a whole southwestern portion of the continent they were on called the Dragonlands, populated by ponies who worship dragons through sacrifice of any living life form. So it was much like G4, but with plenty of changes. This is also where I come up with some of my best characters, like Aurora Crepusculo and Rubio Brightlight. This simmered in its own little pot for about a year. And get this, during that year, a whole nother continuity lived and died.
My life be like...
Believe it or not, the current incarnation of my YouTube channel is not the first one, but the second. So for context, I had this friend. Let's call him Xavier, for privacy's sake. Xavier and I were close friends. I had recently gotten him into MLP and it was kind of our thing. Looking back on it, we were kind of obsessed. We had to mention it in our texts at least once a day. And this happened every day. We also played a game called Gary's Mod. If you don't know already, it's basically a game where you can mod it to be just about anything you want. And I mean anything. This fact is drastically reinforced by the workshop. You want a Saitama player model? They got it. 1-to-1 scale map of Los Santos from Grand Theft Auto 5? They got it. Fully functioning Patty Mobile? They got it there too. In fact, the amount of add-ons on that workshop is nearing 2 million. Among all the millions of items on the workshop were a bunch of pony items. There were models, vehicles, weapons, and maps. Really low quality maps. Like, looking back on these maps, like revisiting them, they are not that good compared to a lot of the stuff the Gmod community has put out, but I'm getting off topic. Me and Xavier had this funny headcanon / inside joke where Spike, after he was born, since Twilight was way too young to know how to take care of a baby dragon, she just gave him a phone and let him have free reign. And he formed an addiction to TikTok and Andrew Tate and basically anything that can be defined as a Sigma male. He also smoked weed and wanted to be a rapper. Me and Xavier also had a bit of a thing for roleplay. So what we did is we went on Gmod, roleplayed as Mario and Doofenshmirtz, starting a YouTube channel all about beating the crap out of people, starting with Spike. And something in our brains clicked saying, hey, we should actually make this YouTube channel. And so Dario was born. Now, I can't show any clips of Dario because it was taken down quite some time ago, but we used to film lots of funny videos, like Doof and Mario go to the back rooms, Doof and Mario go to the Death Star, Mario gets hunted by Doof, Jimmy insults Mario's mom, and Doof and Mario beat him up. Mario survives on a quarter of a penny for a whole week. It actually took off a little, getting 70 subscribers, I think, around its peak. We actually used to have quite a bit of fun doing this, and I'd actually consider it to be the peak and highlight of our friendship together. I also started my own channel after Dario went up, and its name was Cabbages. Yeah, another bad name to put on the tally. How many is that now? I don't know, I lost count. But I eventually changed the name to Thunder Skits and Stuff, which then changed to Memeverse, which then changed to Thundercell Studios. Here I'd upload a bunch of like low effort Gmod machinima videos in the same vein as SMG4, except I didn't know how to edit on a computer or how to screen record, so everything was recorded by holding my phone up to my computer, allowing for very limited movement. And since I ended the MLP fanfiction era, I decided this would be the place where I'd have Sunbeam continue his shenanigans with the MLPG4 characters, along with a whole nother load like Yoda, Master Chief, Door, and Shadow the Hedgehog. And a lot of these characters would actually be recurring because, like the pirate continuity, it had continuity. For a while, I called this whole thing the YouTube series. There were 13 longer episodes and 14 shorter episodes, which is funny now that I'm thinking of it, because canonically, my YouTube series has more episodes than Make Your Mark. The quality itself was really hit or miss. More hits as time went on. So let's take a look at some of those hits and misses, shall we?
Don't play that! Finally, leave me alone. Plushy's my favorite pony, rarity.
You heard her. We're going on a road trip.
And then I said, nothing rhymes the color your face.
When everyone's asleep.
I don't think the latest assault rifle every kid wants to start based off the hit game Fortnite.
And the best thing, it's the best gift you can get for your children.
This is the best gun I've ever had.
Oh, right, I get to roll the wheel of torture. I wonder what I get. Ah, cool, a nuclear bomb. I wonder who gets using it.
Ah, silly little dragon. I'll be the one.
Yeah, we got a white Bronco heading westbound towards the suburbs.
Carnivorous plant, eh?
Yeah, today we're gonna be turning a non-married house plant into a famous slide track. Here, I'll show you the spell. To here we have a normal house plant, right?
Yeah.
Ah, there she is. Everybody give her a round of applause.
It's all good to be here. I can't believe it. You know, when I was born, I didn't think...
Ew, you married a... I'm sorry, homie, but only I can say that.
Oh my god. Bonfire!
Who's that?
It's my dragon Spike and his kind of weirdos.
Shit, bozo.
Must get weed. Hey, that's the good stuff. Hey, why does it smell like a bomb?
That's because it is a bomb.
Wait, what? No! Hey, yo, bro! Your tomfoolery interrupted my pickle rubbing.
Yeah, that was a good one, yeah.
Oh, there, masked flare.
Hey, dude. After this to work.
I don't care. I need to get out of here.
You've brought me my best friend.
Spike, what is it? I've got dresses to knit.
Oh, you'll see. Watashi wa anata o koyokuteki. Imomete imasu.
I don't understand his language. Can you translate, Sunbeam?
I believe he's saying he desires you carnally.
I beg your pardon!
How may I help you, sir?
Dojo Tonka.
I ask that you not make this purchase crowd strife, for it may cause you havoc for your whole life.
Kashiwa? Means you can't have it.
Well, Mario may have slain all of the animatronics. There was something else he didn't account for. An army of bloodthirsty killers.
It was so scary, so terrifying, so funny that everyone just kinda died.
No!
Come and give me a buzzo.
Stop right there!
You can't get me now.
NANI?! I come to make an announcement.
Someone has broken into the school. Nice Funyun rings you have there.
Hey, Funyun rings! I'm taking them back!
No, my Funyun rings these are. Come back. Nah.
What the actual shit?
Alright, we're good, and speed on through. Ow, 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 ow. That little shrimp thinks he can play dirty. I'll fight dirty with dirty.
Legalize nuclear bombs.
And I mean really dirty.
It's amazing. It's just that this TV is just complete crap. Well, that is why I can't prepare. Ha! This place is so boring, nothing could save it now. Except a book. No. Don't make me read that. Please, don't. No, buy it. Please, don't. No, please. I'm allergic to reading. If you kill me, I die.
I'll just let myself. Murders never sleep, and neither should you.
Come on.
Don't worry. I'm sure you can handle him just fine.
So kids, what did you learn about our stay at the hotel?
To be honest, I didn't learn anything.
Yeah, me neither.
As I've said, hits and misses. I actually did have a 35-minute long Christmas special in development, making it twice as long as the 18-minute Halloween special. But you may be thinking, it seems to be a relatively well-thriving channel, why did you take it down? Well, in the modern age of YouTube, pretty much the one way, unless you can get lightning in a bottle or be raised from the dead, the only way you can really get fame on YouTube is through shorts. Like, I even know this now. Like, my most viewed video currently is sitting at about 300, as where my most viewed short is at 14,000. So, yeah, it just shows you what YouTube prioritizes. Anyway, I was uploading shorts during this time, too. They weren't really all that good or had all that much substance, unlike the more long-form videos where I could be a lot more creative. Eventually, I started ditching Gmod videos altogether, in the shorts at least, not in the long-form videos. I ditched those Gmod machinimas for just regular old memes, because they seem to be really successful. Because my goal was not to get the fame just for the fame, but so I could show a much wider audience the long-form videos that I had to offer. And on November 27th, 2023, as of the time I upload this, 1 year ago exactly, I had been saving a meme I got from another friend, let's call him Darren. It was called Be a Furry Day. Be a Furry Day is a day on the 27th of November where you can be any furry and they cannot fight back. And with this particular meme, I was planning months ahead of time after I was first exposed to it. I was first exposed to it in February of 2023, and it had the idea for months, to share it to everyone I know and upload it on my YouTube channel, which was sort of a recent development, on the 27th of November 2023. So when that day came, I made a short of it, with the spy from Team Fortress 2 below it saying, "Gentlemen, synchronize your death watches." And I hit upload. Did it bode out well? No. The video itself got nearly 2,000 views, so in the very short future, it was a good thing, but in the long term, it was sort of a bad thing for that iteration of the channel. The comments mostly resembled stuff like,
Yeah, beat him up! Yeah, let's give him what for, yeah!
but there was one comment, I can't remember who it was that made it. It was something to do with, like, Dr. Indian Shark or something, I don't know. It was something like, "It's also have a 6-year-old make an unfunny joke. Grow up." He forgot to put day at the end. Back then, I was stupid, so I simply said no. And thinking about it just under a year later, as of recording this, I have already formulated 2 better responses. The first one being, "Oh, it's that day already? Thanks for reminding me." And number 2, "At least you know it's a joke." But oh no. I was what Stan Marsh would say is an R-tard. My friend Xavier said it was pretty tasteless of me to send a meme like that, because not only did I upload the short, I also sent it to everyone I knew, even if I hadn't had contact with them for months on end. While I wasn't trying to be tasteless, or anything of that sort, like, the joke was meant to be taken as, haha, look at that, it's actually November 27th, you know, sort of a meta-type joke. But the way I made it left it really open-ended. So a lot of people, especially those in the comments, thought I was actually being serious. My parents found out because my mom's phone and my phone are connected, and thus, whenever I get a buttload of notifications spreading furry hate, she gets a lot of notifications spreading furry hate. So after finding out, my parents had me handwrite an individual response to everyone I sent the meme to, saying I was sorry for sending such an offensive, tasteless meme. Luckily, some responded almost immediately before they found out, and were spared the sappy sentiments. This whole ordeal created a bit of a rift between me and Xavier. I also had to private every previously made video, and the whole channel had radio silence for 5 months straight. During the Great Silence, as I've dubbed it, I began to focus more on the original story I'd created. By now, Sunbeam had basically become his own full-fledged character, with his own flaws and motivations and goals, along with a good cast of supporting characters and locations to surround him. But still, something felt off. I felt it was still too similar to My Little Pony. Sure, I'd changed the art style and aged up the primary demographic, and I'd made the main character a male instead of a female, but still, it didn't feel quite right yet. I looked back on the now abandoned YouTube series. The plan is that I'd make a YouTube series with several different arcs, kind of like in an anime. Those first clips I showed you were sourced from those episodes that made up the introduction arc, and I'd basically build up my experience and credentials so that when I pitched my TV series to any sort of studio, they'd be more likely to accept it. I had ideas like Yoda and Shadow the Hedgehog being a crime duo, and Starlight Glimmer and Doctor Strange getting their own movie. But since it was all canned, there was no way that all that was going to see the light of day. But I didn't want this idea to go to waste. So I pondered on what to do. By this point, my first few Yoda videos had already come out, and I'd abandoned the idea of having it be a prequel to the YouTube series. So I had the idea to put the YouTube series and the original story together. I'd always liked the idea of Sunbeam being in modern times rather than the Renaissance era. It gave me a bit more flexibility with what I could do with plot lines, ideas, and other things like that. So after all this thought, I decided to merge the two, and thus the United series was born. Right before the merge, I had recently integrated Ben 10 into this whole monstrous maze or web or whatever you would call it of fanfiction, because a friend of mine, let's call him Nigel, had recently gotten me into it, that along with Sonic. So for a very brief time, Sunbeam was his universe's wielder of the Omnitrix. But like the MLP fanfiction of years past, it got a huge originality shift. A lot of the story beats remained pretty similar, except that any character brought over from a fictional franchise would be replaced with someone new but similar. The Omnitrix was replaced with the Electro Gauntlet, and instead of giving you the ability to transform into various aliens, it gave you a very specific set of superpowers. Just imagine Superman's set of powers at Homelander's level of strength, minus the flying and the freeze breath, plus the ability to redistribute and absorb electricity, and hack into any technology with your mind, modern level and above. Basically a combo of Homelander, Cyborg, and Denki Kaminari. Speaking of all those different franchises, which the characters I just mentioned came from, along with Ben 10, My Hero Academia, and The Boys also played a large part in influencing my new work. Tracking back a bit, I'd like to talk a bit about my art style evolution for a second. Now, drawing ponies at first kinda limits what you can draw outside of cute and cuddly, but the thing was that the characters I was making aren't really suited for this art style. I began to change things bit by bit, like giving them visible hooves, smaller eyes, more variety in their hairstyles and body types, and it transitioned from the G4 art style to something that's basically a merge between Avatar: The Last Airbender and One Punch Man, which worked much better for the story I was trying to tell. The setting is also pretty unique. Basically, it's Earth, but in the South Pacific there's an extra continent called Zeleria, where ponies come from. Many European countries like Spain, Britain, and France colonized the west and south of it, except for a northeastern portion called Kumiria, which basically serves as this world's Equestria. As a result, with their extra resources, after beating Nazi Germany and Japan in World War II, the Allies are able to launch Operation Unthinkable, a full invasion of the Soviet Union, and win. While the Allies are dealing with Russia, China begins to take a lot more power, spreading into Central Asia and Mongolia and Manchuria, becoming far more powerful than in the real world. After the Allies reach Moscow, the whole Soviet Union collapses TNO style and basically turns into 1,000 warring warlords. The Western powers and China begin to set up spheres of influence in the former Soviet Union. And with China as the only communist power on Earth, and a really, really powerful one at that, it sets up a Cold War. This Cold War continues from 1951 to the present day, where both the United States and China are basically themselves from our world, but on steroids. As a result of this extended Cold War, the technological advancement of pretty much the whole world is about 10 years ahead of time, and culturally, it's about 40 years behind. The story basically shows how this world reacts to superheroes and how it tries to take advantage of them. At least that's Phase 1. Phase 2 focuses on the fall of the US and China, and Phase 3 focuses on the new world order that's created after. So, it starts off resembling pre-war Fallout, and ends looking like My Hero Academia. And that pretty much catches the whole story up to the present. Now, I thought I was gonna end this video here, but then I had the thought, hey, I'm not as cringe as I used to be. And Sunbeam's not as cringe as he used to be. This actually makes a lot of sense, as an OC can give insight to a person's psychology, along with revealing anything that they might want in life, or something that's wrong with them. For example, if an OC is overly cool and edgy, looking at you, Cold Steel, that means whoever created it is the exact opposite, trying to be overly cool and edgy. Or if an OC has a happy-go-lucky life with no heartbreak, that means whoever created it has a life of nothing but heartbreak. This theory more so applies to personal OCs, OCs based off of their creator, which, yes, I can say Sunbeam is in fact one of those. But what sets Sunbeam apart is that he's grown with me. To chronicle this growth, I've divided everything into 5 phases. The Flawless, the Pirate, the Influencer, the Wielder, and the Hero. Starting off with the Flawless, which funnily sounds like an Amazing World of Gumball episode title, I got the name, the Flawless, from the fact that in Sunbeam's first depiction, I didn't list any negative personality traits. So basically, he was a Mary Sue. But during this time period, I wasn't really concerned with the quality of everything. I was just a kid trying to have fun. I was totally oblivious to the fact that I was basically creating My Little Pony version of Velma. But I didn't care. I was just a little boa having fun with his character, making funny little scenarios for him and his friend to laugh at. I didn't care until I did, which leads us into Phase 2, the Pirate. This is where Sunbeam and I began to grow out of the innocence of that first phase and started giving a crap. And thus, I actually began to have a bit of a promising future. But there was still one nagging thing. I had a bit of a dark side that had shown itself plenty of times before in the form of my dumb Pokemon fanfiction and the My Little Pony fanfiction. A dark side, or as I like to call it, the cringe side. This manifested in the form of the Influencer. The Influencer represents everything that's cringe about Sunbeam and myself. Basically, all of our negative personality traits that make anyone go, ugh. The Influencer is basically the Flawless trying to be the Pirate, but failing. The Influencer also manifested in the form of the first iteration of this YouTube channel. I somehow felt the need to release a new video every week, despite not very many people actually keeping up. Like, it'd be like some of my friends and like 1 or 2 actual fans who, if they saw a video came a day or 2 late, they wouldn't care too much. But soon enough, the Influencer died, leaving the Pirate alone to develop into the Wielder. The Wielder is more sort of a transitionary phase from the Pirate to the next one that I'm about to mention, the culmination of 2 years of hard work and countless hours of staring at paper thinking of what to do. The final phase is called the hero. The hero understands that he has a cringe side and has learned how to control it. As a result, he has a future just as, if not more promising than that of the pirate. And finally, has an original world, story, and cast of supporting characters to call his own. I used to make plans that would go beat by beat, never accounting for outside circumstances. I used to think that I was at my peak at any given time. In both cases, I was wrong. If I've learned anything, it's that nothing goes exactly to plan. And any change that does happen will usually be for the better. Like if I never uploaded that furry video, I'd still be in the influencer/pirate stage. I'd still be tying myself down to non-existent deadlines, and I'd probably have a case of declining mental health. And if I never had any originality shifts, I'd still be writing a crappy fanfiction. So what do I think the future looks like? Simply put, it'll change. A lot. And that's a good thing, because one of my big goals is to make the story on the quality level of things like Avatar: The Last Airbender, Lord of the Rings, and Chrono Trigger. And to get to that perfect state, it have to go through revision after revision after revision. Things will go unplanned for a large part of the time. So, with that in mind, I now plan for change, not against change. And by the time I'm ready to pitch it, the story and plan could be completely different from how it is now. But without further ado, here's the current plan. I was writing the script on November 17th, recording this very line on November 20th, and I plan to release it on November 27th, though it could be pushed to the 28th or the 29th or even the 30th. After that, I plan to do Yoda 7, there's going to be a big plotline there, and after that, I'll be releasing the 8th and final Yoda video on December 31st. Afterwards, going into 2025, I think I'll do a lot more 2D one-off projects, gradually culminating in a Christmas special that I plan to be as long as this video here. Its purpose being that it's basically gonna be improving on the Christmas special that was 95% complete but canned. Afterwards, I'll continue on the 2D animations and meme shorts, along with throwing in some videos detailing the story that I'm actually making in preparation for later in life. And when that's all done, I'll assemble it into a bit of a series called the Thundercell Pitch Bible video series, from which I will use that Pitch Bible to pitch the series to whatever corporation wants to see it, and hopefully they like it. From there, it'd have a few years of development, probably airing sometime between 2036 and 2038. The story has been structured so that no matter what arc it ends on, it'll feel like it ended on a good conclusion. And if whatever studio takes it thinks it's making enough money for them and they feel it's necessary to continue the series to fruition, it could end up being as long as One Piece. And despite running for so long, it would have a masterclass ending. You may be wondering, after I've talked so much about it, what's this story even about? Well, it answers the question, what happened when superheroes began? No sort of any superhero media has answered this, except for My Hero Academia giving the story of the shiny baby, and for individual superheroes. But it doesn't really show the effects it had on society as a whole, other than saying, oh, it was bad for a while. But this series takes a far more deep dive into that whole topic. Like I said, there's 3 parts to the whole story. The current way of things, the fall of that way of things, and the new order of things. The main character, Sunbeam Thunder, not only struggles with being a superhero, but also leading all the others, despite starting the story at only 14 years old. He starts out kind of a brat like Ben 10 is in his classic series, prioritizing his own desires, like women. But as the series goes on, it puts him through basically every imaginable scenario a hero could be in, from being loved to being hated, or anything in between really, from going to space, staying on Earth, dealing with personal issues, or the villain of the week. And as a result, he has lots of character development until he eventually ends up being the hero he's supposed to be, being a sunbeam of light in the thunderstorm of the world. Like myself, who he's partially based off of, he has many flaws that plague him every day. And a lot of the time, he's his own worst enemy, and he knows that. But despite this, he still pushes forward, showing everyone how to be a real hero. And that's pretty much the synopsis of the story right now. Believe me, I could go much, much deeper with this. There's honestly years worth of stories to tell, dozens of characters and locations to go through. And funny thing, it could all change at the flip of a coin. Like I said, I've already rewritten the story 3 times already, and it'll probably happen again. The likelihood of this staying in its current form are very, very slim. But I can rest easy knowing that if it does in fact change, it'll probably be for the better.